Welcome to Cook 30. I'm Jeremy Dixon from the Revive Cafes in Auckland, New Zealand, and I also wrote the Revive Cafe cookbooks. And today I'm going to share with you some delicious cafe meals that you can cook in your very own home. Cook 30 food is all about using delicious, whole food, plant-based ingredients. We're going to be using protein sources like nuts, beans and lentils, whole grains like brown rice and quinoa, fresh fruit and vegetables, and tying it all together with international flavours and fresh herbs and spices. And the best part about Cook 30 food is you do not have to spend hours slaving away in the kitchen. In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to show you how you can cook a delicious meal for your family and they will love it. On the menu today we have Turkish Falafel wraps, served with salad vegetables, hummus and a tahini dressing. We have Spanish smoked potato wedges, and to finish off, a healthy Banoffee pie. Cooking food in a short time does not happen by accident. You need to make sure you're well prepared and your kitchen is set up. We've got a nice clear workspace. All the dishes are out that we're going to be using. Hot pan on the stove. The oven is heated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around 200 Celsius. We've got our food processor ready, sharp knife and a chopping board, and our fridge and our pantry are stocked with all the ingredients we're going to need. So let's get underway. To start with, we want to get the wedges in the oven because they're going to take the longest to cook. I've just got some potatoes here. We want around about four potatoes, about a potato per person, but these are quite small, so I might do a couple of extra. And you can never have too many wedges as well. So I'm just going to chop these up into wedges. So chop them in half, and then we just chop them into wedges. So just go around like that and chop them. Make sure you're keeping them thin. You don't want them to go too thick or they take too long to cook. So again, you start with a half, and then just chop around 45 degrees, 90 degrees, next degrees, whatever that is, and just put them in the bowl. And when we're chopping, we want to chop down the thin side, and that means we're going to get nice sharp wedges, and they're going to be nice and thin. At the end of the day, any old shape will be fine, but probably the main thing is just keeping them nice and sharp and nice and thin. And it'll make them fast cooking. Potatoes can take up to 40 minutes to cook. So in 30 minutes we want to make sure we're taking a few little shortcuts like cutting them thin and just probably there's a bit of a naughty bit on there. So keeping them nice and thin, and we're going to use a slightly hotter temperature. We're going to be cooking them at 200 degrees Celsius, which is 400 Fahrenheit. And if you're cooking things fast, one important thing is to make sure they're evenly covered with oil. You don't need much oil, but just an even covering is really important. So that's why I'm putting them in a bowl, so we can shake it up with the oil and get a nice even coating. The spice I'm going to be using today is smoked paprika, and it's available in pretty much most supermarkets, and it's one I recommend you keep in your pantry. It just has a lovely smoky flavour. It's not hot at all, reasonably mild. It comes like this, looks like normal paprika. So we're going to add around about 2 teaspoons. And we're just going to give it a bit of a shake up to distribute it. Then we're going to add some oil. Just going to add around about 1 to 2 tablespoons. Don't need much at all. And just shake it up so it's nice and evenly coated. And that way we can cook at a slightly higher temperature without the risk of burning. Onto an oven tray. Just spread it out. Check there's none that haven't been coated yet. So you want to make sure there's lots of gaps. These oven trays are my favourite. They're reasonably inexpensive at most homeware stores, and you can put them in the dishwasher when you finish, which is a great plus. So get those in the oven and underway. And we'll pull those out in around about 25 to 30 minutes, and they will just be gorgeous. So, second job, we want to start at the end of the meal, and we're going to start with our banoffee pie. So we're going to be using a food processor. It won't work in a blender, you need a food processor. I'm going to start with the top first, which is the kind of a cashew cream. And the reason we're doing this is so we don't have to clean the blender in between all the different layers. So for this we want 1 cup of cashew nuts. And half a cup of water. And we're just going to blend this, process it briefly. There we go. Get that going around. And we'll make a nice cream. Just going to check it down. It's just nuts and water at the moment. It just looks like this. So we want to make sure we give it a good blend so it becomes a nice smooth cream. Okay, nice and creamy. So we'll just pour that into this jar here, and we'll come back to that later. Whoops. Let's give that a bit of a wipe. So that's the first part underway. Now we're going to make the base. So that requires cashew nuts as well. So this time we want 1 cup of cashew nuts. One cup of almonds. And 1 cup of dates. I'm using whole dates, but you can actually use chopped dates if you want. So 1 cup of dates and half a cup of water. We want this to be slightly thicker so it forms a nice base. See how it goes. I first had this dish probably around about 15 years ago, and it was a naughty version, and it was just delicious. It's just such a delicious dessert, so I thought I'd make a really healthy version. So this is what I've come up with. Just the bananas combined with all these flavours and the creaminess, it just makes such a lovely dessert. It's going. Yep, it's getting good. As you can see, it's getting nice and smooth, nearly to be suitable for a base. Let's give it a bit more turning. There we go, that should be good enough. So we're going to spoon this into a nice dish like this, and this will become our base. Now this looks quite kind of mushy at the moment, which is fine, but we'll put it in the fridge and it will harden up somewhat. So it always starts out quite soft. Let's push the base down. And you want all the different layers to show, so just make sure we don't make it go too high. That's 2 layers done. Okay, third layer is similar ingredients. So we want to have 2 cups of diced dates. One and 2, or any kind of dates that you want. See if I can put the blender back on. And the secret ingredient for this layer is peanut butter. So we want basically 4 tablespoons of peanut butter. Now this dessert is quite that's probably 2 and another 2. This dessert is quite a rich, very intense food, so it's not the type of thing you want to have a lot of. It's definitely using healthy versions, but it still does have a little bit of fat with the nuts there, so it's not the type of thing you want to have too much of. And we want to have a cup of water as well. I'm just going to start off with half a cup, because with all these ingredients they seem to be different every time, so okay, just a little bit more. I think that is looking pretty good. We've got that lovely date peanut mixture, which makes a lovely filling for this pie. So we're just going to spoon that out. As you can see, it's a bit darker. You know this is going to taste good. And now the ingredient that makes this really special is bananas. So we're just going to chop up some bananas, slice some bananas, and lay them on top. And this has a really nice flavour. It's quite nice when you're slicing bananas to slice them on a really sharp diagonal angle. Just going to layer it out like that. And this is just really nice and soft. Really goes well with this dessert. And then to finish, we're just going to pour over this cashew cream. And we're not going to do a complete pour because you kind of lose the bananas, so it's just kind of just a partial kind of smother. You want to see some of the bananas and some of the lovely peanut filling. There we go. So I'll put that in the fridge and that'll be ready by the time we're ready to serve. If you've just joined us on Cook 30, we are cooking a delicious meal in just 30 minutes. On the menu today we have a Turkish Falafel wrap, served with salad vegetables, hummus and a tahini dressing. We have Spanish smoked potato wedges, and to finish off, a healthy Banoffee pie. Okay, let's make the falafel patties. We need to get some ingredients from the refrigerator. So we have some chickpeas, some cilantro, and some soybeans. So what I've done here is we've got some chickpeas, and these are just soaked, and you can soak them overnight. So they're not cooked, just soaked. So I'm just going to drain them. And these are an essential element of a falafel. Once you've soaked them, you can actually keep them in the refrigerator for quite a few days. So we're going to load all the ingredients into our trusty food processor, and we have 1 cup of these chickpeas that have been soaked, not cooked. You can use cooked ones if you need to out of a can. You just end up with a more kind of mushy consistency. We've got some soybeans, and we're just going to put in 2 cups of soybeans, just frozen. You can use broad beans, fava beans, or any kind of nice green frozen bean. These are just delicious and great to have on hand. That's exactly 2 cups. We're going to add a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to add some cilantro. And this is the best way to keep herbs in your fridge. Basically wrap it in a paper towel and cover it with water so it's really damp, and they'll just keep in there for up to a week or even more sometimes if you keep them well. Just going to chop that up to get it started, stalks and all, perhaps not the end bits, we'll throw those away. Put that in there, that gives a lovely flavour to these patties. We're also going to add some besan flour. Now you could use, this is chickpea flour, also called chana flour. You could also use wholemeal flour if you wanted, or possibly rice flour. And we want, how much do we want of this? We want half a cup, so that's 4 tablespoons, or 2 really big tablespoons. 1, 2, 3, 4. We want some garlic. I've got 2 cloves of garlic, or I've got 2 small and 1 large clove. Easiest way for garlic is put it in your garlic press, skin and all, and just get it in there. We're going to put an onion in, so just chop an onion, dice it. And we're just going to just chop it into chunks just to make the food processor's job a little easier. And I think that is all. Oh no, we've got some cumin powder. We want 2 teaspoons of cumin powder. 1, 2. And let's blend it up. Make sure we've got a hot pan ready to go. That's nice and warm, ready for these guys. Look at that, just a little bit more, I think. It's looking good, but it's just a little bit chunky. We don't want it to be completely fine, but you want it so it's just chunky enough that it adds a little bit of interest, but it's still all going to stick together. Look at that. When it starts to roll around like that, that's normally a good sign it's done. So pull out the blade, and that is our falafel mix ready to go. And that's just a traditional kind of Turkish, Middle Eastern kind of recipe. Well, there's lots of different versions, but it's my version anyway. So we want a little bit of oil in the pan, and we're just going to make little falafel size balls. So using your hands, just make little balls about that size, then just press them down, and then put them in this oil. And you can make them any size you want. If you can make these as burgers, so just make big ones. You can make them as hors d'oeuvres, make tiny ones. Or for this type of thing with a wrap, you kind of want them this size, which is kind of just smaller than a golf ball. If you want to, these generally once they're cooked, you want to eat these fresh. You can't really cook them and put them in the refrigerator. But the mixture keeps really well. So what you can do is you can make a double lot of the mixture, put it in the fridge, seal it really well, and it will probably last several weeks, which is really handy. And then when you want to fry them up, you can just bring them out, roll them up like this, and it's really easy. As you can see, they stick together really well. You don't need, there's a misconception out there that you need to put eggs with everything when you're making these type of things, so you don't. These are just great. There we go. Those are cooking away. Excellent. We've got spare mixture we can keep in the fridge. So I'm now going to work on the ingredients we're going to be using. So I've just got some lovely salad vegetables. I'm going to present this on a platter, just on a big wooden chopping board. So first ingredient we want is some lettuce, and Romani lettuce is my favourite lettuce. It's just always nice and crisp and crunchy. Because it's going in a wrap, we want to make sure we're having it nice and fine. So cut it like that. So use it all up. Use the green end as well. Just going to lay that on the board like that. We've got some nice, lovely vine tomatoes. And because we're filling wraps, we want to keep this in mind. So we're going to slice them, and just reasonably thickly take off the end bits, just line up all these beautiful, lovely, fresh, ripe vine tomatoes. Isn't that lovely? I found these lovely little cucumbers as well, so they'll be really nice. And it's quite nice to slice things differently, so I'm going to slice these really diagonally, like that. Always look for different ways of slicing things. You don't just have to go the normal round way. And you can slice a carrot in 20 different angles and directions and formats. Now these can be used later for a salad, so don't throw them away. There we go. Check on these guys here. How are they going? Might turn it up a little bit. They're happily just cooking there, so they'll need probably about 2 to 3 minutes per side. Look at that, they're starting to brown, but we'll give them a little bit more time. I'm also going to add some beetroot or beet. This is really nice raw, so we're just going to chop off all the sides. I'm just going to add some julienne beetroot. It's a really nice ingredient to have in these type of things. So to do julienne, just basically chop it into little slices like that, assemble them together, and we're just going to really thinly slice them. And this is a beautiful, earthy, sweet, just delicious ingredient to have in a wrap as well. So there's all our salad veggies done. And I think we can start turning these guys here. Look at that. I'll probably give them a little bit longer. So I'll come back and turn those shortly. And we need to do the tahini dressing now. This is a great Turkish ingredient. Tahini is just ground up sesame seeds, and they make a really nice dressing, and it's really quick. So I'm just going to take a nice little bowl. We want 4 tablespoons, 1, 2, 3, 4 of tahini. It's just a lovely paste. It's kind of like a liquidy peanut butter. We also want some lemon juice. So we want 4 tablespoons of lemon juice. You generally get about 2 tablespoons per lemon, depending on the lemon. So I'll squeeze these out. 1, 2, 3. And this is a great kind of healthier dressing you can use instead of aioli or mayonnaise or whatever. So get into practice of making it. So just going to drain that through my fingers. So open your fingers a little bit so the juice goes through, but the pips don't. Look at that. We also want to add a little bit of salt, and we also want to add a little bit of honey for sweetness. Just a tablespoon of honey. And I think that's all of our ingredients. And we're just going to stir it up gently. You can add garlic as well to this dressing, but it ends up, you have to put it in a blender or a food processor, so it's much easier to do it like this. So it starts out like this, so just keep stirring. And within a very short time it becomes a really lovely dressing. You can also sometimes add water. It's a little bit runny, so just add a little bit more tahini. There we go. Okay, look how silky that is. Just takes a bit of patience, and that's just a beautiful little dressing we can put on our board. I've also got some hummus. You can make your own if you've got time, but in 30 minutes we're going to take some shortcuts. So I just got a nice capsicum store-bought hummus. But if you've got an extra 5 minutes, you can just make a normal hummus recipes and add some roasted peppers to it as well. So that's the 2 little pour-over things which go well. That's all set. Better turn these guys. Let's see how they're going. Oh, look at that. Browning up nicely. Look at that. See, they go really nice and crispy. Lovely falafels. There we go, we'll finish that side there. Okay, let's see how the potatoes are doing. And they'll be ready, look at that. Beautiful and golden. These are just amazing. Put those in there. So we'll just cover them with a bit of parsley. And they are ready to go. Lovely and crispy. Just a bit of parsley to give them some colour. And then during the break, I will just get the banoffee pie out and give it a bit of a sprinkling of carob powder. And it will be all finished. So there we have, those are done, the falafels are done, a few minutes to finish off, and there is our meal in 30 minutes. I've put some lovely wholemeal herb wraps in the oven, just warmed them up a little bit, and that forms the basis of the wrap. And then we just add all our lovely ingredients. I'll start with some lettuce on the bottom, some tomato, and you can customise it and use whatever ingredients you like the best. Cucumber, beetroot, put some of this lovely hummus, some of the tahini dressing, and of course we want to make sure we've got the falafel in there. Drizzle some of that over. And that is how we make a delicious wrap. Thank you for joining me today on Cook 30. I hope you've enjoyed the new healthy tips and recipes, and I look forward to seeing you next time.